Let me paint you a picture. It's the 27th of the month. You check your bank account not because you want to, but because you have to. And there it is, $43. $43, 11 days before your next paycheck. So you do what most people do. You tell yourself it's fine. You say, I'll figure it out. Maybe you move some money around. Maybe you ask a friend. Maybe you just stop checking, because not knowing feels better than knowing. If that hit a little too close to home, don't turn this off, because what I'm about to share with you are the 10 money rules that separate people who are constantly broke from people who are quietly building wealth, and most of them have nothing to do with how much money you make. My name is Ryan, and I spend way too much time thinking about why smart people keep making the same financial mistakes. If you're someone who earns a decent income but somehow never has anything to show for it at the end of the month, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up because this one is specifically for you. Let's get into it. Rule number 1. Stop budgeting, start designing. Here's the thing. Everyone knows they should budget. You've known it since you were 19. You've probably downloaded 3 different budgeting apps, used one of them for exactly 4 days, and then quietly uninstalled it. And yet the advice keeps coming. Just make a budget, as if the problem is that you've never heard of budgets. The real problem is that traditional budgeting feels like a punishment. It feels like being on a diet. And what happens with diets? People follow them for a week, fall off, feel guilty, and then eat an entire pizza at midnight. The same psychology applies to money. Here's what most people don't realize. The goal isn't to restrict your spending. The goal is to design a financial life that automatically moves you toward where you want to be. There's a massive difference between those two things. Instead of asking, how do I spend less? Ask, how do I make the right financial decisions the default? Pay yourself first. Automate your savings the day your salary hits. Set up a separate account for bills. Make it so that the money you're supposed to spend irresponsibly isn't there to be spent irresponsibly. Behavioral economists call this choice architecture. You're not fighting your impulses. You're redesigning the environment so your impulses can't sabotage you. Your brain isn't broken. Your system is. Action step. This week, set up one automatic transfer, even if it's just $50, to a savings account the day after your salary arrives. Not when you remember, automatically, the day after. Rule number 2. Your income is not your wealth. Now look, I need you to really sit with this one because this is the mistake I see the most, and it's the one that destroys the most financial potential. There's a famous study from the National Endowment for Financial Education that found nearly 70% of lottery winners end up broke within 7 years. 7 years. These are people who received hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars, and they were broke again faster than some people pay off a car loan. Why? Because income without financial literacy is just a faster way to spend money. I've spoken to people earning $30,000 a year who are quietly saving $400 a month. I've spoken to people earning $150,000 a year who have $800 in savings and $40,000 in credit card debt. The income is different. The wealth is identical, which is to say, non-existent. Here's the thing. Wealth is what you keep, not what you earn. Your net worth is the scoreboard. Your income is just the ball. You can have the ball your entire career and never score if you don't know the rules of the game. The moment you get a raise, the average person upgrades their lifestyle to match. Bigger apartment, newer car, more eating out. Economists call this lifestyle inflation, and it is the silent killer of financial progress. You earn more and somehow feel more broke than before because your expenses grew faster than your income did. Action step. Next time you get a raise, keep your expenses exactly where they are for 6 months. Every extra dollar goes towards savings or debt. 6 months, that's it. See what happens. Rule number 3. Debt is a subscription you forgot you signed up for. Think about that for a second. When you carry a credit card balance at 22% interest, you've signed up for a monthly subscription, except instead of getting Netflix or Spotify, you get absolutely nothing in return. You're paying for money you already spent on things you've probably already forgotten about. Here's the math, and I want you to pay attention because this is genuinely shocking. If you carry $5,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest and you're only making minimum payments, you'll pay back roughly $11,000 over 10 years. You're paying more than double for whatever you bought. That dinner you put on the card in 2022, you might still be paying for it in 2032. Now you might be thinking, Ryan, I know debt is bad. That's not news. And you're right, it isn't. But here's what most people don't realize. There are two types of debt, and they play completely different roles in your financial life. There's destructive debt, high-interest consumer debt, credit cards, buy now, pay later schemes, personal loans for things that depreciate. This debt makes you poorer every single day you hold it. And then there's strategic debt, mortgages, student loans with low interest rates, business loans that generate returns greater than the interest you're paying. This debt, used correctly, can actually accelerate wealth. The game isn't avoid all debt. The game is eliminate destructive debt as fast as humanly possible and be selective about strategic debt. Action step. Write down every debt you have, the balance, and the interest rate. Target the highest interest rate first, not the largest balance. That is mathematically the fastest way out. Every extra dollar you have goes to that one debt until it's done, then move to the next one. This is called the avalanche method, and it will save you thousands. Rule number 4. Your emergency fund is not optional. This is where it gets interesting, because most people treat an emergency fund like a bonus level, something you unlock once you've sorted everything else out, and that is exactly backwards. Here's the psychological reality. Without an emergency fund, every unexpected expense, a medical bill, a car repair, a broken phone, becomes a financial crisis. And financial crises don't just cost money, they cost you mental bandwidth. They create stress that bleeds into your work, your relationships, your decision-making. There's research from Princeton that shows financial stress literally reduces cognitive function. People under financial pressure perform measurably worse on problem-solving tasks, equivalent in one study to losing around 13 IQ points. You're not just broke, you're making worse decisions because you're broke. It's a trap that feeds itself. An emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of essential expenses sitting in a high-yield savings account, is not a savings goal. It's the foundation that everything else is built on. Without it, one bad month wipes out years of progress. Now you might be thinking, I can't afford to save 3 months of expenses. And I hear you. Start with 1 month, then build. But do not skip this step and go straight to investing. That's like building a house without a foundation and wondering why the walls keep cracking. Action step. Calculate what 1 month of your essential expenses looks like. Rent, food, utilities, transport. That is your first emergency fund target. Open a separate high-yield savings account and label it Emergency Fund. Make it slightly inconvenient to access so you don't dip into it every time you want something. Rule number 5. Invest early, not perfectly. Here's the thing that keeps people from building wealth longer than almost anything else: the search for the perfect moment to start investing. I'll start when I have more money. I'll start once I understand it better. I'll start after I pay off this one thing. And meanwhile, time, which is your most powerful asset in investing, keeps passing. Let me show you the math. If you invest $200 a month starting at age 25 and you earn an average annual return of 8%, by age 65 you have roughly $700,000. If you wait until you're 35 to start, same $200 a month, same return, you end up with around $300,000. A 10-year delay costs you $400,000. Not because you invested less money, the difference in contributions is only $24,000. The difference in outcome is $400,000. That is the compounding effect. Albert Einstein allegedly called it the eighth wonder of the world, and honestly, the math backs it up. Here's what most people don't realize. Investing $50 a month imperfectly and consistently beats waiting to invest $500 a month perfectly.
Done beats perfect every single time. The market rewards patience and consistency, not genius timing. Action step. Open an index fund account if you don't have one. ETFs that track the S&P 500 are a great starting point. Set up a monthly automatic investment, even if it's small. The amount matters less than the habit. Start this month. Rule number 6. The people around you are making you broke. Now look, I know this sounds harsh, but this might be the most underrated financial principle in existence, and nobody wants to talk about it. There's a well-documented phenomenon in behavioral economics called social spending. It's the money you spend not because you wanted to, but because of social pressure. The birthday dinners at expensive restaurants, the group holidays you couldn't really afford, the rounds of drinks, the weddings.
The keeping up with what your friend group considers a normal lifestyle. A study by Credit Karma found that over 40% of millennials have gone into debt trying to keep up with their friends. 40%. Almost half of an entire generation is borrowing money to appear like they're doing fine. Here's the brutal truth. Your financial trajectory is heavily influenced by the average financial behavior of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Not because they're bad people, but because humans are deeply social and we normalize whatever the people around us do. If everyone around you eats out 5 times a week, that becomes normal. If everyone around you carries credit card debt, that becomes normal. If everyone around you talks openly about investing and building wealth, that becomes normal too. You don't have to cut off your friends, but you do need to be honest about whether your social environment is pulling you forward or holding you back financially. Action step. Have an honest conversation with your close friends about money, not to judge each other, but to create permission to make different choices. To say, I can't do the expensive dinner this month. Can we do something cheaper? That conversation is uncomfortable once. Financial stress is uncomfortable forever. Rule number 7. Your lifestyle should lag behind your income. This is where it gets interesting because we live in a culture that treats spending as a form of self-expression. The car you drive says something about you. The holidays you post say something about you. The restaurants you go to say something about you. And so when our income goes up, we feel this almost biological urge to signal that progress, to live at the level we now earn, to show it. But wealthy people, not high-income people, but actually wealthy people, tend to do the opposite. They drive average cars. They live in reasonable houses. They don't need to signal because they're not trying to impress anyone. The goal isn't to look rich. The goal is to be rich. The Millionaire Next Door, one of the most data-driven books ever written about wealth, found that a massive proportion of genuine millionaires in America live in middle-class neighborhoods, drive used cars, and their neighbors have no idea they're sitting on millions of dollars. Meanwhile, the people driving the most expensive cars in the richest-looking neighborhoods frequently have the least financial security. There's a quote I love. Wealth is the nice cars not purchased, the watches not bought, the clothes foregone. The gap between what you earn and what you spend, that gap is where wealth is created. Action step. Pick one lifestyle upgrade you've been thinking about, a new car, a bigger apartment, an expensive gadget, and delay it by 6 months. Not forever, just 6 months. Put the money you would have spent towards savings or investments instead. Then reassess whether you actually still want it. Rule number 8. Know the difference between assets and liabilities. Robert Kiyosaki made this famous, but I want to break it down in a way that actually lands. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Simple, right? But here's where people get confused. Most people think their car is an asset. It's not. It costs you money every month. Insurance, fuel, maintenance, depreciation. It's a liability wearing the costume of an asset. Most people think their house is an asset. In some situations it is, but if your mortgage, maintenance, taxes, and insurance cost more than the rental income it could generate, it's functionally a liability. True assets are things that generate income or appreciate in value without requiring you to trade more of your time.
index funds, dividend-paying stocks, rental properties where the rent exceeds costs, a business that runs without you, intellectual property. These are the things that work while you sleep. Here's what most people don't realize. The wealthy don't necessarily work harder. They have more assets working for them. They've spent years converting their income into things that generate more income. Passive income isn't a scam or a fantasy. It's just the result of consistently buying assets instead of liabilities. Action step. Look at your last 3 months of spending. Categorize everything as either an asset, something that creates value or appreciates, or a liability, something that costs you money with no return. See the ratio. Then ask yourself, can I shift even 10% of what I'm spending on liabilities towards acquiring assets instead? Rule number 9. Your financial education is a better investment than almost anything else. Here's the thing. The return on financial literacy is mathematically insane. Think about it. Learning about index funds takes maybe 5 hours of serious study. That knowledge, applied consistently, could compound into hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Learning about tax optimization could save you thousands every single year. Learning to negotiate your salary, one conversation, could be worth $5,000 to $10,000 in immediate additional income. Show me almost any other investment with that kind of return on time. And yet, most people will spend 40 hours researching which TV to buy and 0 hours understanding how compound interest works. They'll spend 3 hours on a streaming service in a single evening and tell you they don't have time to read about personal finance. The financial education system has failed most of us. In school, we learned how to calculate the area of a circle. We did not learn how a credit card actually works. We did not learn what a mutual fund is. We did not learn the basics of tax strategy, negotiation, or how to build a net worth. That failure isn't your fault, but staying uneducated is now your responsibility. 1 book a month on personal finance, investing, or business psychology. That's it. 12 books a year. In 5 years, you will know more about money than 95% of people around you. That knowledge compounds just like interest does. Action step. Pick one financial book and start it this week. Start with The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel if you want to understand the behavioral side. Start with The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John Bogle if you want to understand investing. Read 30 pages this weekend. Just start. Rule number 10. Treat your future self like a real person. This is the one that ties everything together, and this is where the psychology gets really fascinating. Neuroscientists at NYU ran brain scans on people while they thought about their future selves 10 years from now, and here's what they found. When most people think about their future self 10 years from now, the area of the brain that activates is not the area associated with you. It's the area associated with a stranger. Your brain doesn't experience your future self as you. It experiences them as someone else, which is why saving for retirement feels so abstract, why the discipline required to sacrifice now for later feels so brutal. You're essentially being asked to give up things you enjoy today for a stranger. No wonder it's hard. But here's the reframe. Your future self is going to wake up somewhere. They're going to have some amount of money, some amount of security, some amount of freedom. And every single financial decision you make today is a gift or a burden you're passing to that person. The debt you accrue today is a weight they will carry. The investments you make today are resources they will use. The habits you build today are the patterns they will live by. You are writing a letter to your future self with every financial choice you make. What does that letter say right now? The most powerful shift in my personal financial life wasn't learning about index funds or tax strategy. It was the moment I stopped thinking of my future self as abstract and started thinking of them as someone I actually cared about, someone I was responsible for, someone I didn't want to let down. Action step. Write down, literally physically write it, what you want your financial life to look like in 10 years. Not vague goals like I want to be rich. Specific. What does your savings account look like? Do you own property? Are you still in the same job? Have you started a business? What does your daily life actually look like? Read that every month. Let your future self become real to you. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this stuff is easy. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. The reality is that building financial security in a world designed to take your money through advertising, through easy credit, through social pressure, through a broken education system requires a level of intentionality that most people never develop. But here's what I know. You are watching this video. You looked up this video. That puts you in the category of person who actually wants to figure this out. And wanting to figure it out, genuinely, honestly wanting to, is the rarest ingredient of all. You don't need to follow all 10 rules perfectly starting tomorrow. Pick 2, master those, then add more. Wealth isn't built in a day, and it isn't built by perfection. It's built by consistent, slightly better than average decisions made over a long period of time. Your broke chapter does not have to be your whole story. Start writing the next one. If this video gave you even one idea that shifts how you think about money, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more content on building real financial literacy, not hype, not get-rich-quick schemes, just honest financial education, subscribe and stick around. I'll see you in the next one.